corners. They go to sauce bars, clock on the wall, still ticking. Blue crew posted in the bag, a whole room. Listen. True Crime Cafe, coffee, black eyes, red files on the table, cold cases, cold dread, seeking the truth. Ink stains on his hand, pics on the cardboard, string lines, map land, busting these cases, long nights, tight grind. Everything will be fine. He repeat that line. Blue crew backs him, keep him on track. One step from the edge, they pulling them back. True Crime Cafe, they go to softball, seeking the truth. Pay the real cost. Gotta find answers, gotta make time. Busting these cases, walking that line. True Crime Cafe, they go to softball, hoping he can answer just a few. Yo, True Crime Cafe, they go to softball. Say it with your chest. This the true talk. Solving the bullshit, lies in the booth. Paper plates, cheap meals, chasing down proof. Praying real quiet, hands on his face. Fighting for the next meal. In another cold case, street talk, tip line. Voices on mute, he dig through the dirt. Searching for a root, true justice, distant. Like it changed the address, but he still take notes. Never half step. True Crime Cafe, they go to softball. Seeking the truth, pay the real cost. Gotta find answers, gotta make time. Busting these cases, walking that line. True Crime Cafe, they go to softball. Seeking he can answer, just a few talk. True Crime Cafe, they go to softball. Say it with your chest, it's the truth talk. True talk. Hey, yourself some motherfucker.
True crew.
Not only about fuck your shit.
Drop dead thunder, heavy on the low end. Blue crew coming through, say it once again. Fizzy, sassy, Casey, Mama Bear, stand tall, Brandy B, Tandy, Tomboy Zelda on call, the last 24, S.A.B. Ratch locking that feed, Molly Drake in the back with some speaks when we need. Watching over us all, while the chaos climbs, scroll by scroll, they save our timelines, yeah. Blue crew, do it their way, moderating all the mess, keep it in play. Trolls beware, they don't ever care, running this shit, making everyone aware. Blue crew, do it their way, shut it down fast when it goes sideways. They don't blink, they don't break, they just swing, hit the lead, make space. Moonlit, baby roll, crazy's chaos in control. Cat K, Bonnie B, flip a switch, clean a scroll. Lucy Morning Star, Meg, P-Guard in the gay, Randy Farley, a story, set it all straight. Keep it in line, yeah, they do it all the time. Naming blue, that's a warn, better walk that line. Walk that line. Blue crew, do it their way, moderating all the mess, keep it in play. Trolls beware, they don't ever care, running this shit, making everyone aware. Blue crew, do it their way, shut it down fast when it goes sideways. They don't blink, they don't break, they just swing at the lead, make space. Typically unique, every mind, every name, different style, same flame, same aim, same game. From the first ping to the late night call, blue crew on the wall, watching over us all. Over us all, over us all. Blue crew, do it their way, moderating all the mess, keep it in play. Trolls beware, they don't ever care, running this shit, making everyone aware. Blue crew, do it their way, shut it down fast when it goes sideways. They don't blink, they don't break, they just swing and the lead, make space. Hey! Hey! Drop dead thunder, heavy on the low end. Blue crew coming through, say it once again. Fizzy, sassy, Casey, Mama Bear, stand tall, Brandy B, Tandy, Tomboy Zelda on call, the last 24, S.A.B. Ratch locking that feed, Molly Drake in the back with some speaks when we need. Watching over us all, while the chaos climbs, scroll by scroll, they save our timelines, yeah. Blue crazy's chaos in control. KK, Bonnie B, flip a switch, clean a scroll. Lucy Morning Star, Meg, P-Guard in the gay. Randy Farley, a story, set it all straight. Keep it in line, yeah, they do it all the time. Naming blue, that's a warm, better walk that line. Walk that line. Blue crew, do it their way. Moderating all the mess, keep it in play. Trolls beware, they don't ever care. Running this shit, making everyone aware. Blue crew, do it their way. Shut it down fast when it goes sideways. They don't blink, they don't break. They just swing and delete, make space.
Typically unique, every mind, every name, different style, same flame, same aim, same game. From the first ping to the late night call, blue crew on the wall, watching over us all.
Over us all, over us all. Blue crew, do it their way. Moderating all the mess, keep it in play. Trolls beware, they don't ever care. Running this shit, making everyone aware. Blue crew, do it their way. Shut it down fast when it goes sideways. They don't blink, they don't break. They just swing and delete, make space. Hey!
What's up, this all fucking crazy out there, right?
A TruCrime Cafe, they go to soapbox. Cold brew, cold case, chalk lines on the gloss.
Seeking the truth, finding the time. Files on the counter, grind with the grind. Blue crew backs him, keeps him in line. Sirens in his pocket, eyes on the sign. Got a wall full of faces.
String tied tight, every red pen circle, another long night.
True Crime Cafe, where the real ones bleed. Busting these cases till the lost get free. Gotta find answers, gotta make time. Everything will be fine if the truth aligns. If the truth aligns. If the truth aligns.
Off in the bullshit, praying low real. Knuckles on the table, fighting for the next meal. True justice far out of view. Smoke in the doorway, what else can he do?
Hoping he can answer just a few names in a notebook, voices breaking through. True Crime Cafe, where the real ones bleed. Busting these cases till the lost get free. Gotta find answers, gotta make time. Everything will be fine if the truth aligns. If the truth aligns. If the truth aligns.
Whoa. Welcome, everybody. Good to see you back here at the cafe. We are open for business. Heading back over to the Nancy Guthrie situation. Sorry, I always do that. It is great to see you guys here with us today. Some weird things going on still with that case and no answers. There should be so much more happening over there. It's not. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us as we delve into that to see what the hell is actually going on over there. That being said, please make sure to hit the like button, guys. Share this out. Let everybody know what we're doing. And, yeah, let's do this thing.
Neon lights flicker like broken halos. Whispers gather in the smoke-filled air. Tables carved with secrets and shadows. Every story's a wound laid bare. The kettle's boiling with a restless rage. Justice written on an unseen page. I sip the silence, bitter taste, waiting for the ghosts to show their face at the True Crime Cafe.
where the guilty once stood. The jukebox hums like a funeral choir, echoes pounding through the neighborhood. Every scar is a candlelit vow. We hunt the how, we demand the now. No more silence, no more disguise. We'll paint the night with sharpened cry. At the TruCrime Cafe, we serve up the pain they try to hide away. Pour another cup of the truth you crave. Raise your glass to the names they betray. This is not a sermon, it's a battlefield hymn, a requiem dripping from the bottle's rim. The guilty write stories in invisible ink, but we'll drag it all up from the edge of the brave. At the TruCrime Cafe, the reckoning burns like a black bouquet. Every shadow will pay in the TruCrime Cafe.
All right, all right. Welcome back, everybody. Great to see you today. Hope you're all having a great day today. How about now? Yes, no, maybe so. How about now? Yes, yes. Okay, good. Sorry, guys. My apologies. Yeah, I have some new stuff I'm working with here, so sorry about that. And I forgot when I changed out these things for the big jumpy earphones that kill my ears. I turned some things. So yeah, sorry about that. Anyway, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Please make sure to hit the like button, share it out, and let everybody know what we're doing over here, please. Come on down. Who we got joining us today? Let's see here. 1 minute. All right. So it looks like KP Wales. Welcome. Kathy Buhner. Good to see you. Miss Tandy's in the house, probably on her lunch break. Miss Carrie's Gold. Great to see you. Janet Stuttered. Jen 7S in the house. Always good to see you, Jen. Crime Rat, welcome to you. Buffalo Chick, welcome back. Twiz in the house. What's up, buddy? Good to see you. Buffalo Chick, welcome back. Cat K, welcome. Good to see you, Cat. Turkey Creek, Gal, welcome back to you. Italian Girl, Row 76, great to see you today. Thank you for joining us, guys. Please make sure to hit that like button, like Row asked, and subscribe, share it out, hit the notification bell. That way you don't miss everything we're doing. Tomboy Charms in the house. Good to see you, Tomboy Stormcat. Welcome. Good Trouble. Good to see you. It's been a minute. Missed you. Thank you for joining us today. The Luther 75 in the house. Welcome back, dear. Great to see you as always, guys. Please make sure to share this out. Hit the like button. Let's get this in an algorithm. Robert Bell, great to see you, my friend. Jackie Bushable, welcome back. And Care Bear's in the house. Good to see you, Miss Care Bear. Thank you for joining us. Looks like we have 53 people in the house. 29 likes, guys. Let's see if we can make that match. Please, Anna. Thank you. All right, let me see. Redactyl Factyl Idaho, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Make sure to hit the like button when you come through the door. Share it out, guys. We'll be kicking this off here real quick here as soon as we get everybody in here. Jumping into what is going on over in Tucson today and what should be going on that's not. That's another good point. Miss Tandy's been working on getting our Facebook back up, so you guys can follow that as well. Just go to the TruCrime Cafe. It'll take you right to it. It should. We'll get that up and moving again. And if anybody's into Facebook, all the stuff we do should be added to that as well. If you're a Facebooker, please go check it out, as well as our TikTok. My videographer, Molly, she's running that as well. We do have a TikTok, a Twitter, and a Facebook, guys. Just so you know. Moonlit Baby, good to see you. I'll be back. I'm flying. Will you be careful, Stormcat? Be careful, and we'll be here. Give me 1 minute, guys. Let's see what it is. Chris Tat, good to see you, my friend. Thank you for joining us today. Actually, a good question. Chris says, y'all wonder why the Guthries are waiting till now to offer millions of dollars of reward? Good point. Welcome, Isabella Mars. It's great to have you here, Chris. All right, guys, just 1 minute. I'm going to get this kicked off and moving. We're going to start off with something you guys probably don't even want to hear, but I think it's all important in some aspect. Truly. All right, let's see here. 1 minute. All right, let's kick this off, guys. Yes, we're starting with good old Harvey. Sorry.
Kidnapper taken some days before she was. Photo of Nancy Guthrie's kidnapper taken some days before she was abducted has resulted in no leads. We have been talking with FBI sources who are telling us that the way they got this photo was through Google, because Nancy did not have a subscription for video from Nest. They were actually able to obtain it from Google the way they did the video. But because there's no video subscription, there was no timestamp on this. So based on their investigation, they believe that the photo could have been taken on January 11th. This is weeks before the kidnapping.
Welcome, Lily.
But they're not sure of that. It could have been January 11th. That is an operating theory. They are not sure of that. They want to make that clear. We know that they have swept the area for video from neighbors, anywhere they could get it. It has resulted in no leads with respect to identifying a vehicle or a suspect. They are frustrated about this. Now, I do want to say one other thing. Kash Patel had
Bronx Tales, true crime in the house. Miss Logan, good to see you, dear. Hope you're feeling better. Great to have you here. Make sure you guys jump over and subscribe to Bronx Tales True Crime. Her and her doggy friend, they're a hell of a pair, folks. They do amazing stuff over there. You guys will be super disappointed. And she is our awesome and amazing co-host on the Devil's Advocates panel, as well as the Verdict Room, guys. She does amazing things. Please make sure you subscribe to her channel. And if you don't, you might make me mad. Not that you care, but you might. I would be angry if nobody subscribed to her, because she does such great stuff. So please do it.
Said shortly after the kidnapping that that photo was taken the day of the kidnapping. That is incorrect. We know that. It was taken before the kidnapping. But again, the operating theory, January 11th, they're not certain of that.
By the way, I'm just kidding, guys, about the main thing. I just really would love to see everybody subscribe to her. Hit the notifier. That way you don't miss anything, because she puts out amazing stuff every time she does something. So just do it, guys. Come on.
Let's talk about Savannah's new video where she says the family is offering $1 million and acknowledging that it would be a miracle if her mom is still alive. We are told the FBI never told the family that the chances of finding their mom alive was slim to none. They never said anything about it. This is something that the family kind of came to terms with on their own, we're told. The FBI's $100,000 reward still stands. So $1.1 million is on the table right now, leading to the return of Nancy Guthrie. The FBI...
Tomboy, one of my mods here, saying real quick, got an update on the DNA person. It's a yes. That's awesome. That is awesome. Something to look forward to. Hell yes. Great stuff.
Wants people to call it, not necessarily calling Pima, because you then have two law enforcement agencies. You have cross signals. So it's 1-800-CALL-FBI. They want serious leads only, and they want to make it clear anybody who's trying to scam the Guthrie family, they will be prosecuted. The last thing, and something I think is very interesting, is I spoke with one source from the FBI. who said, the reality is this is becoming a cold case. But that doesn't mean it's over. And this source was talking about something that we've seen many times, where you could have a kidnapper at a bar one night drinking and then bragging about what he or she did. You could have a girlfriend of the kidnapper at the time who then becomes an ex-girlfriend who knows information and goes to authorities, or that.
Welcome, altruistic murder. Lady Kravitz in the house as well. Welcome back. Mikey, my producer. Good to see you, brother.
That girlfriend could be the one to actually, go to a bar, go to a store, go somewhere and either talk about it directly or insinuate something that is interesting enough to pursue. So even though this is becoming a cold case, and it is clearly one of the reasons why the Guthrie family has upped the reward, that doesn't mean it's over. As what FBI source put it, it just takes that one person, and they believe it's going to happen at some point. One person who opens his or her mouth, and the case cracks wide open.
That's kind of interesting, as well as this next thing we got. All right.
News in the search for Nancy Guthrie now in its 24th day. Authorities are following new tips as the investigation moves forward.
And just moments ago, Savannah posted a new statement on social media revealing the Guthrie family is now offering a $1 million reward in the case of their missing mother. We want to play that for you now in its entirety.
Whoa.
Hi there. Coming on to say it is day 24 since our mom was taken.
I need to tell you guys how bad I feel for this woman. This is just breaks my heart every time I see her face. Every time I hear her voice, it breaks my heart, truly, because this is horrifying. I couldn't imagine going through this. And they shouldn't have to, truly. It's sad.
In the dark of night from her bed. And every hour and minute and second and every long night has been agony since then, of worrying about her and fearing for her and aching for her, and most of all, just missing her, just missing her. We know that millions of you have been praying. So many people have been praying of every faith and no faith at all, praying for her return. And we feel those prayers. Please keep praying without ceasing. We still believe. We still believe in a miracle. We still believe that she can come home. Hope against hope. As my sister says, we are blowing on the embers of hope.
See, and that makes me believe that they don't think she's deceased, which is wild to me. And that's a good thing. That's a very good thing, a very positive thing, and I hope that that's true. So I wonder if they know something that that hasn't been put out to the public. And if that is it, I hope, absolutely hope, with everything I have in me, that that's true.
We also know that she may be lost. She may already be gone. She may have already gone home to the Lord that she loves and is dancing in heaven with her mom and her dad and with her beloved brother Pierce and with our daddy. And if this is what is to be, then we will accept it. But we need to know where she is. We need her to come home. For that reason, we are offering a family reward of up to $1 million for any information that leads us to her recovery. All of the information about this reward and the details is in the caption below. You can call the 1-800-TIP line. You can be anonymous if you want.
I'm sorry, you guys. I know this is heart-wrenching, but it is important to hear, so my apology.
Someone out there knows something that can bring her home. Somebody knows. And we are begging you to please come forward now. We also know that we are not alone in our loss. We know there are millions of families that have suffered with this kind of uncertainty. And for that reason today, we also are donating $500,000 to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children for their work in helping families who are coping with loss and actively looking for those who are lost.
That's awesome. That's truly awesome.
We are hoping that the attention that has been given to our mom and our family will extend to all the families like ours who are in need and need prayers and need support. So please, if you hear this message, if you've been waiting and you haven't been sure, let this be your sign to please come forward, tell what you know, and help us bring our beloved mom home so that we can either celebrate a glorious, miraculous homecoming or celebrate the beautiful, brave, and courageous and noble life that she has lived. Please be the light in the dark. Thank you.
And thank you. Our beloved friend and colleague, Savannah Guthrie, they're just posting that video on social media saying we still believe in a miracle. Family also now offering a $1 million reward for any information that leads to the return of their mom, Nancy Guthrie.
I mean, I think it's living in this uncertainty is agonizing, and it's really a plea for anybody because somebody does know something.
Let's bring in NBC's national law enforcement and intelligence correspondent, Tom Winter. He joins us by phone now. Tom, you just heard the video. You saw the video along with us there. Walk us through the significance of this one. Why now?
Yeah, Craig, good morning. I think it's an important video because what the family is clearly telling somebody out there, and I agree with them. We've talked about it often, that somebody out there knows something. And so what they're hoping is that for that person that's out there, maybe they don't have the financial means to pick up the phone and call about a loved one, about a spouse, about somebody that they think is involved in this because they don't have the financial means to do so. This now changes the game. And I think they're being very clear that that they want that phone call from that one person out there or those two people out there that actually know what happened. And they're making it very clear here this morning. They just want to know what happened to their mom. They want to know where she is, and they want to be able to, as she said in an earlier video, celebrate her life. That's all that they're focused on. They want resolution. They want an end to this, and they're offering up to $1 million for somebody to come forward and make that call that says, you know what? I know that it's my relative who's responsible for it. Yeah. I know that it's my boyfriend or girlfriend that's involved in this. And make that call.
And I think, too, them donating another $500,000 to others who are going through the same kind of agony that Savannah and her family are going, to shine a spotlight on those other families is super important. Tom, thank you. Thank you so much.
Tom Winter, thank you.
And a reminder, guys, the tip line. Call if you have any information in this case, 1-800-CALL-FBI. Again, the now $1 million is being offered here.
24 days now. Savannah pointing out that
somebody.
Now, for those of you that couldn't see that, it says someone knows how to find our mom and bring her home. Call 1-800-CALL-FBI, 1-800-225-5324, and you can remain anonymous or find a way to reach out to me. Note, family reward of up to $1 million will be paid only for the recovery of Nancy Guthrie, consistent with FBI criteria. for payment of its reward in this case. There's a link there to go to that, to the website per se, so on and so forth. So, very important to know, in my opinion. And again, heartbreaking. That brought tears to my eyes, you guys. It's very sad. I feel so bad for them. So bad for them. This is horrible. There's so many greedy people out here that you shouldn't have to have a reward put in place for you to do the right thing. That irritates me to no end, but it happens. So, oh, Jesus. I hope and pray. Like I said, it sounds like they're still optimistic that Nancy could still be alive, but they are also at the point where they are accepting of the fact that she may not be, which is understood. At this point, you would have to be able to be that way. You know what I mean? So, just saying. I got a couple other things we're going to break down with this and some people's feelings on this. I don't know if you guys know, I follow Bruce Rivers. Kind of a funny guy, usually. Okay. He's an attorney. He covers a lot of different cases that we look at, and I've always followed him. He's kind of blunt to the point. Sometimes he's comical, but it is what it is. But at this point, he's talking about this case. So I'm curious to see what his thoughts are, and I wanted to share that with you as well. So let's check it out.
Here's what do you remember the Oklahoma City bombing? They didn't solve that right away. And that was drip, 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 drip. And all of a sudden they went through all that rubble and found an axle with a serial number. That led him to Ryder Truck. That led him to the Terry Nichols. That led him to Timothy McVeigh. It was all
his hat's awesome. It says stop self-snitching. That's his saying. He puts it on all his stuff. It's pretty awesome.
Yes, detailed work by these cops. So what's going to solve this case is, the Walmart connection. There's a good start, right? But they're going to have to sift through every
like a mega star
backpack purchase, probably ever. When did you start getting these backpacks? Okay, we want to sift through all these, and they can probably, and half of them are probably women purchases, right? So get rid of all the women that are purchasing these backpacks, or at least start there anyway. And they will methodically go through the things that he was wearing, the glove, the DNA. They've got a good kind of start, and it has been slow, but that's how this is going to get solved. They've got thousands and thousands and thousands of tips, and they're going through them one by one. Good old-fashioned police work is how this is going to get resolved.
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. But who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And it's going to react to all the self-snitching. Oh.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, your board-certified criminal defense lawyer, coming to you with my Pearl handle pistol cufflinks, so graciously gifted to me by our former content genius that you knew and I still know as Michael Rivers. Today, we're reacting to the updates on the Nancy Guthrie kidnapping. First of all, my heart goes out to Savannah Guthrie and the family, and that goes to everybody, even the person I accused last time. I didn't really accuse him, but I said there were some people talking about it. According to the sheriff's office, the family has been cleared of all wrongdoing, and that had to be kind of hurtful for the family. I mean, imagine just thinking like, oh, my brother-in-law is being accused. And, us talking heads are just speculating. And I try not to go off on a tangent if I don't have the facts. So Robert wants me to do that all the time, but fuck Robert. Okay. Anyway, but before we get to this episode, this is brought to you by AskALawyer.com. AskALawyer.com is a very effective way for you to this case. And he was released, and the family of Savannah Guthrie.
I hope they get the suspect, because I'm not it. They better do their job and find the suspect that did it so they can clear my name, and I'm done. Look at what I'm putting my family through.
You're on national news now.
Not just them, even my parents in Tucson. Right. Yeah.
And your
This is Carlos. He was detained in Rio Rico, Arizona for questioning in this case. And he was released and, my heart goes out to a guy like this because imagine all of a sudden you're plastered all over the fucking national news. It's just got to be awful. You've seen the released footage, and we'll look at this footage for a second and talk about some things that they're doing with this footage. But through this footage, they can kind of estimate how tall the guy was. And I think they're saying 5'9" or thereabouts. And so you see his gait. You see his gait. He's walking up, and you look at his clothes. I guarantee you the FBI is looking at the shoes, the pants, the gloves, the top, the backpack, and anything that they can visually see, right? And I know that Walmart has been reported to have been cooperating extensively. And so one of the things that they can do is, okay, I want everybody that's bought one of these backpacks in the last 6 months, or ever for that matter. And then they, or track down the shirt and they found a glove not that far away, and they think that the glove was there. They tested the DNA in the glove, and guess what happened? Doesn't match anybody in a federal database. This is just another kind of fucking evil, isn't it? It was something that they were able to collect this ring footage, and they got it from Google. So let's just watch this for a second. So that glove is going to give a lot of information. There's a very specific type of glove. It's just chilling, isn't it? And then he covers it with some foliage. And I think you can kind of see some facial hair under his mask. So let's kind of look at some coverage from CNN. And they have a senior correspondent, Josh Campbell. He's a former FBI special agent, and seeing something through his eyes kind of informs us on what we should be looking for. In an online post, Savannah Guthrie and her family request anyone with information call the tip line. The tip line is 1-800-CALL-FBI or the Sheriff's Department at 520-351-4900. And they've upped the reward to like $100,000. Now, there was somebody that there was some note or something that we know where she is, and we'll give you, if you give us $60,000. Dude, if you really know where she is, you can collect $100,000. So, I mean, there's a lot of shit that they have to wade through. So let's watch some of this coverage real quick.
This chilling new video released by the FBI could hold the keys to solving the case of the disappearance of 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie. That's the hope for law enforcement right now. On it, you can see an individual approaching the Guthrie home. This was just before Nancy's disappearance. The person is wearing a mask. Their hands are obscured with gloves. They also have...
Now, the FBI is going to take hours and hours and hours going over every square fucking inch of this video.
Clothing from head to toe and a backpack. Now, criminals are sometimes smart. We've seen this in past cases where sometimes someone doesn't want to leave behind evidence such as a fingerprint or skin or hair fibers. And so authorities now are asking the public to look at this video and these images and determine if maybe you recognize who this person is. On the video, we can actually see the person walking, so-called gait analysis. How someone walks, because of the unique nature of how we all move, can sometimes be critical as well. Again, authorities wanting eyes on this video. They want the public to pick up the phone and call law enforcement if you recognize who this person is. Now, behind the scenes, law enforcement would also be working to scour every single item that person had on him, to include the mask, to include his clothing, to include the backpack as well.
So one of the things you see is some reflective strips on the straps. Huge. Not every backpack has that. So, I can't tell you how many cases I have had where they identify somebody by the clothing they wear, a little line in the shoe, or a little pattern on the jacket.
Seen in past cases where if authorities can identify where a particular item is purchased, they can then go and try to canvass employees at a retail store, for example, show them this imagery, try to determine, yes, we saw this person come in, and perhaps lead to.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that too, Redactyl, because that seems to be an issue within this case as well. There's a rumor, because there's no proof yet, that the different pictures and videos are taken from 2 different days. So we're going to get into that too here once we hear what everything Bruce has to say.
Financial information that could help identify who this person might be.
Everything is digital now, right? So you go and you buy something at the store, you know, a lot of times they'll still have it. Like Target, for example, they keep everything. You know, you can go back forever with Target, and you go right to the date of purchase, and that gives you a video, which goes outside, which might catch a license plate. I mean, so they need to just track.
Meanwhile, NBC co-host Savannah Guthrie is also appealing to the public. She says that the family believes that Nancy is still alive. They believe someone out there might know who this person is.
And it's that hope, isn't it? That hope that she's still out there, that she's still alive. I mean, now it's been 17, 18 days, 19 days. It's just horrific, honestly. So let's watch another clip from CNN.
This is the technical part of the story that I want to learn more about, that I bet many viewers want to learn more.
And by the way, yes, this is from a few days ago.
About because this is a key part of the breakthrough. My sense is that the engineers and the technicians at Google, the company that owns Nest, deserve a lot of credit for this breakthrough. And you can read between the lines of Kash Patel's statement and get that sense. He said, working with our partners, they were able to obtain this video. Well,
I misspoke earlier. I said it was a Ring camera, but it's a Nest camera.
For viewers who aren't familiar how Nest works, these are some of the Nest cameras. So here's one of them that's for outdoor use. Here's an indoor camera that's for indoor use. You plug these in, you're able to see whatever the camera sees. But unless you have a monthly subscription to the cloud interface, there's not a backup of the recordings. You're able to see the video live if you have it plugged in. You're not able to see a backup. A lot of people don't bother to pay for the backup for $10 a month or whatever it is, because all you're ever going to see on your camera is it.
But what does that tell you that we don't know? You know, about, you know, who's watching us. You know, I mean, it tells you a little something, doesn't it? That, you know, just when you think you're not being watched, you're being watched.
Cameras is, well, in the Tucson desert, maybe a coyote every once in a while. But in this instance, according to the FBI, the Google engineers, these data forensics experts, were able to somehow retrieve the raw material that was coming off the camera live, that was being fed onto the servers live, even though there was not a subscription. There's going to be a lot of questions about that. And so far, we've only seen the video from what seems to be the doorbell camera and not from any other cameras around the home, Boris.
She didn't have a subscription, but they were able to get it anyway. So if you remember, she had a pacemaker. And one of the ways that they knew that roughly the time is that the pacemaker separated from her iPhone, right? And so there's a signal coming from that pacemaker. Let's take a look at this. This is just incredible, the technology that's out there. So there's a thing called a signal sniffer, and here, let's just watch this.
But we begin with the desperate search for Nancy Guthrie, now entering its third week. Investigators are focused on the gloves, mask, and clothing the suspect wore when seen in that doorbell camera video from the night Guthrie disappeared. The 84-year-old was last seen on the night of January 31st when she was dropped off at her Tucson, Arizona home. Police believe she was abducted in the middle of the night. And last night, Savannah Guthrie posted a new plea to whoever has her mother.
It's never too late.
Look at Savannah. She looks worn out, doesn't she? I mean, how could you sleep?
Absolutely, Chris. And I blame this on Sheriff because this should have all been done on the first week. Truly.
How could you eat?
And you're not lost or alone. And it is never too late to do the right thing. And we are here. We believe. And we believe in the essential goodness of every human being.
Anybody who takes somebody out of their fucking bed at 2 a.m. has no essential goodness. But what she's doing is she's appealing to them as a person, to their better angels, as they say. But this guy has no angels.
And it's never too late.
And you heard her there. It's never too late to do the right thing. Let's go to CBS News reporter Andres Gutierrez covering this for us in Tucson, Arizona. Andres, what are police saying about the gloves and the clothing of that suspect?
Well, Mugo, let's start off with the latest reporting regarding the mask and the clothing worn by that suspect. The Pima County Sheriff is telling the CBS News that they believe that those items were purchased at Walmart. They're still in the process of identifying which.
That's huge. That's huge that they can identify that to a particular vendor, like Walmart or Target.
Brands. We were the first ones to tell you that the backpack that he was wearing is that Ozark Trail hiker backpack sold exclusively at Walmart. Biggest question now is whether did he purchase it online or did he buy it in person? Online, there's a bunch of digital evidence they can pull. In person, you step into a store and there's a bunch of cameras there at Walmart. So even if he shoplifted these items, it's very possible that they can go look through the surveillance cameras of that specific area of the store. They're right now.
Think about that. Talk about a needle in a fucking haystack. How many backpacks do you think Walmart sells?
In the process of checking different Walmarts. We were at one last week, and you can see that some of the masks have actually been removed from the shelves. It's still, again, they have been spending several days. This is one of the leads that they're working. The other is the glove. It's apparently 16 have been recovered, and one of them, according to the FBI, matches the one that was seen on that security camera from Nancy's doorbell. And so they have been able to recover some DNA off of it. It belongs to a male. They're right now in the process of doing a quality control test because this was initially sent to a state lab that the county contracts out of Florida.
So when you think about it, now imagine if you were just some poor innocent slob and you wear these gloves at your construction site or whatever, mixing concrete, or you're doing this or that, and now you have to explain where you were, what you were doing. I mean, and all of a sudden they like the driver that they detained for a little bit.
Once they go through that test, they'll send it over to the FBI, who will run it through their national DNA database.
Now we know that they've done that. This is a little bit older report. We know they've done that, and they got no hits.
And if there's a hit, it could possibly lead to a possible name. But remember, the FBI national database is only based on people who have been charged or convicted of crimes. It's the fingerprints that you have to do if you ever are committed a crime. So
even if they get a hit, that doesn't mean that now we've got our guy. They got to link that glove up to the crime scene. They got to link that person up to the glove. There's just all kinds of chain of custody things that they have to do.
Yeah, that's sad to say that, Christina, but he absolutely has been more reliable than the Sheriff has. It's a damn shame to be able to say that, but it's truth.
In order for it to stick. And if they fuck up at all on constitutional issues, it could blow the whole case.
Experts say that is only about 6 to 7% of the U.S. population. So, again, they're very hopeful that this may lead them to a break in this case. But the other avenue that they also have to go down, if now that they have DNA, is the genealogy route, right? They can reach out to a company like 23andMe and see if there's perhaps a hit there. So this case, even though we're now going into the third week of the search, looks very promising.
Didn't 23andMe go belly up?
Regarding lethal.
And Andres, there was a flurry of police activity on Friday night. Can you bring us up to speed on that and what we could expect in the coming days?
Now, if you remember, there was a flurry of activity about a mile away from the home of Nancy Guthrie. I think 1.9 miles, 1 or 2 miles. We don't know anything. There was nothing that came up for that. They detained some people, but they let them go.
Yeah, there sure was. So on Friday night, in the evening, around 7, 8 o'clock at night, they were working on a tip, which led them to a house about 2 miles away
and I know this is all guys. I'm just giving you guys Bruce, who's a defense attorney, his outlook on this, and then we're going to jump into the newer stuff that was, updated and stuff like that. So just bear with me.
2 miles west of where I'm at right now from Nancy's house. It's a subdivision called Shadow Hills. There's a house there, the 6200 block of Placita de Rogelio.
Exactly, Tomboy. She says, remember, it took 9 months to get Rachel Morin's killer through DNA and IgG? I do too. There's definite faith, I'm sure. You should have, I should say.
Ended up serving a search warrant there. They talked to the people at that house. No one was arrested. But at the same time that was playing out, about 7 minutes south of that house, the Pima County Sheriff ended up pulling over a driver in a Range Rover. They pulled him into a Culver's parking lot. For those on the East Coast who don't know what a Culver's is, it's a fast food joint. Happened in the middle of the rush. I talked to the store manager. He had no idea what was going on, neither did the crew there. But they pull into the parking lot. They start talking to the driver. They start pulling stuff out of the vehicle. A lot of people are questioning, why did they put the tarp around the back of the SUV? Well, it's part of the investigation process. All the cameras, a lot of media spotlight attention on this. They don't want to obviously compromise the integrity of the case.
Unbelievable. I mean, they are just trying. And this guy's a ghost.
They don't want to know what was pulled out of that vehicle, but that vehicle was processed. The driver was questioned and released. Very similar to the circumstances happened last week, just hours after those surveillance videos, that video came out. About an hour south from here in Rio Rico, they ended up pulling over a delivery driver named Carlos. He was door dashing at the time, and they essentially pulled him over, wanted to know if he was involved in the kidnapping of Nancy Guthrie, because besides delivering food, he also delivers packages, and they believe that at some point he may have delivered a package to Nancy or somewhere in the neighborhood, and they wanted to know more about his whereabouts. At the same time that was all playing out with him being talked to, they were also busting the front door of his house and talking to his family and searching his home.
What I don't want them to do is to screw this up and all of a sudden have a Fourth Amendment issue, for some asshole who did this.
He was not the guy. They were eventually released him, but it left him traumatized. But again, I talked to a retired FBI agent. He says that this is all part of the investigation process. All this will be playing out. We are obviously getting more of an inside look because of how high profile this case is. However, he also does.
So here's the other thing that they're doing. They have this thing called a signal sniffer or whatever, and basically it's something they hang from a helicopter, and they're looking for the signal that connected her to her, from her pacemaker to her cell phone. If they found that, they found her. I mean, imagine if they were able to get that signal, but there's nothing telling you what that signal is. And maybe they have her cell phone and they're waiting for that to maybe connect. I don't know if that's what they're doing or not. But the devices that could detect signals emitted from Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker is among the tools that investigators are using as their search for her continues into the third week. A high-tech tracking tool called a signal sniffer has been mounted on a helicopter and may help detectives pinpoint her location. So they're really pulling out all the stops. So, and I don't know. I think originally $6 million was asked for, into a Bitcoin account. And that's tough to trace, I guess. But the thing about it is, for me, I would say I don't pay on damaged goods. Show me that she's alive, or are you just paying for a body at this point? There's a theory going around, and this is a TikTok. Let's see. This is the wisdom of my team here. So let's just see what this says. I know this isn't going to be good.
Oh my God, listen, I think someone just cracked the Nancy Guthrie case wide open. Listen, no bullshit, no cap. So remember how we were talking about Jason, the nosy neighbor, the one that's constantly embedding himself in the investigation? He's on the news every day, and every time he's on the news, he's blaming the brother-in-law, right? Well, if you guys don't follow Katie, the self-defense girl, I think she found something. What?
I just saw it as a screenshot in the comment section of another TikTok video. But I don't trust anything I see online, so I did some research myself. Went back through the surveillance video. You can see it here. Again, you can see it here. And then I found the interview with the other guy who had this ring on his finger, and his interview's pretty interesting.
My name is Jason. I have a premonition that after day 2, I have a premonition that the son-in-law has something to do with it. Not sure exactly what, but it was very, very weird that after day 2, they showed a picture of the son-in-law with 2 guys, and it hasn't surfaced since. He's been out of the limelight this whole entire time. No interviews, no sitting with his wife during interviews, nothing.
So first of all, he says he had a premonition. Yeah, because they're going to ask you, well, how do you know this shit, right?
Well, aside from that, you don't think the FBI has looked at that ring? I guarantee you that they've noticed that.
Why are you blaming? And then you said you didn't want to speculate, but you're speculating. Then someone in the comment section of Katie's video posted this. Everything's lining up, y'all. He's scared.
Wow. Wait a minute. What? Wow, guys, that is weird. I never saw this, Kim. Holy shit. Whoa. Okay, that is really close. I'm just gonna say. But I also said that I thought that Lucas Daly looked close too, but this is crazy. Yeah, I think they just colorized everything because they could, but still, they don't discount anything at this point. I'm just, things that make you go, that's all I'm saying.
Everything's lining up, y'all. He's scared. He scares the shit out of me because you are that confident that you're not going to get caught. Bro, search his fucking house. Do it now. Do it fucking now. Look up his record. Look up anything that you can use. Follow him. Tail him. See if he put something in the trash and get his DNA. Come on. This is a forensic file, CSI.
Kind of, I wish they would have thought of all that.
All over again. Let's go. This is creepy. He had the ring on. This might be a stretch, but every time we see him, he has those shades on, right? Because in the video of him or the suspect on the ring camera, he doesn't have glasses on under that mask, right?
The ring theory is something that should be explored, and I guarantee you they're exploring it. And if they have for 1 minute, I mean, look at these. They stopped a delivery driver and roused his fucking home. You don't think that they would fuck with the neighbor? I mean, give me a break. So we're in day 18, 19, 17, whatever we are in. I mean, it's just so sad, that this 84-year-old woman living on her own didn't blow this guy away, honestly. So if you're 80, we would go up to my grandma's house up in Long Lake, which is way up north in Minnesota. My great grandma, Rivers, Charlotte. I remember going into her bedroom once, and she lived by herself in kind of on a lake, but it was rural community, right? Nobody there to hear her scream or anything. Looked under her pillow. There's a fucking handgun under her pillow. Grandma was packing heat. In all fairness.
We're going to go back after this and look at Jason's interview, one of them at least, because I'm very interested in that now.
Nancy Guthrie should have been living in a secured building gated community.
Virginia.
Just because an 84-year-old woman should not live alone. She should have been living with Savannah Guthrie. She could have had her own fucking wing. I mean, what is she worth? About 40 million, whatever she is. I mean, she couldn't afford her own wing, or just next door. It's just heart-wrenching. So we'll continue to watch it. We'll continue to analyze this, and whoever has her is looking at life in prison without possibility of parole. And if they do get apprehended, they aren't getting out on bail. Period. End of story. Hard stop. Here's what do you remember the Oklahoma City bombing? They didn't solve that right away. And that was drip, 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 drip. And all of a sudden they went through all that rubble and found an axle with a serial number. That led him to Ryder Truck. That led him to the Terry Nichols. That led him to Timothy McVeigh. It was all just detailed work by these cops. So what's going to solve this case is, the Walmart connection. There's a good start, right? But they're going to have to sift through every backpack purchase, probably ever. When did you start getting these backpacks? Okay, we want to sift through all these, and they can probably, and half of them are probably women purchases, right? So get rid of all the women that are purchasing these backpacks, or at least start there anyway. And they will methodically go through the things that he was wearing, the glove, the DNA. They've got a good kind of start, and it has been slow, but that's how this is going to get solved. They've got thousands and thousands and thousands of tips, and they're going through them one by one. Good old-fashioned police work is how this is going to get resolved. Well, Savannah, I hope you and your family are doing okay. I pray for a safe return of your mother as soon as possible. And, hopefully it's sooner rather than later. So we'll see you next time here on Criminally Reacts. We'll follow up with this, but you got to stay tuned. And stay tuned means you subscribe, means you hit that little notification button. So when we put out a video.
All right, again, I put the link in the chat. That's Bruce Rivers, if anybody's interested. I do like following him because he does put a comical spin on certain things. This one, I definitely would not want him to do that. But I just like his input on things because he's a defense attorney. He does great stuff with other stuff too. So now I am like blown away right now. So we're gonna go back and look at this. Excuse me, this interview. I'm sure there was many of them, but I'm gonna go back towards the beginning, you guys, if you don't mind, because I want to see this guy. I remember watching this with this Jason guy, but I didn't pay no attention then. I just thought he was somebody. From my understanding, he lived a bit of a distance away and just showed up and started talking to JLR. So, let me back up here. Where were we? Give me a minute to find the right one. He does, Robert. I agree. And he is funny at times, guys. This case, there's no reason to be funny. So at least not in my opinion. Just give me a minute here, you guys. Where is this? A minute. 1 minute. Okay. Trying to remember which one it was because I remember how this went. Because JLR's talked to a bunch of people while he's been there, but I can't remember exactly how far back this one exactly was. Um, Thank you, Meg, for that. Thank you so much for that. Is this the one? See here. And I just want to look at this because I want to see exactly what this guy says. And I want to kind of get a read on his body language as well. That's pretty much all. Hold on. All right, let's check this guy out, you guys, because just something bothers me now that I've saw that on Bruce. Hey, Sausage, good to see you. All you guys, thank you so much for joining us. We're gonna look at this because something about this guy now bothers me. I ignored this before, but let's check him out. Let's see what we got here.
Is a neighbor. He lives here. He's never seen anything like this ever. Talk to us. What's going on, Jason?
It's probably one of the craziest things I think I've ever seen. I've been through the, Gary Triano bombing. I've gone through the, seen the Elizabeth Sells case, but nothing quite like this. But I will also say it takes a lot of cojones for the sheriff's officer to be at the U of A basketball game last night instead of doing his job. I think it's pretty disgusting. I understand people need a break, but this is not the time nor the place to do that.
So how long have you been living here?
I've been living in Tucson for about 36 years.
And you live around here?
I live about 15 minutes.
Okay, 15 minutes. So what do you think happened here? As you being a Tucson resident, what's your gut telling you?
My gut is telling me that it's the brother,
This man has a tattoo on the forearm of his right arm. Okay? That's the first thing that I'm going to point out. Second thing is take a look at this. And his lips. Okay? 15 minutes away is where he lives, I believe. Thank you, Kat. But he does have a tattoo. I need to see a better shot of it. But this is a neighbor that lives 15 minutes away, they said.
The brother-in-law, or the son-in-law.
Son-in-law, why?
Just too many things. He had pictures. There was a picture or two that came out, and you haven't seen him since. You haven't heard from him.
Radio silent.
The other people have, the family, Savannah and, her brother and sister have done things. He hasn't been involved in any of it, and I don't know if he's trying to stay away from the limelight or what it is, but I can tell you this. It's very suspicious to me.
I mean, just a random stranger come up through here and just target a 84-year-old woman?
This was planned. That's my gut. It's not just random. I think it was something that, and like they say, the first people that you need to talk to.
So if you were somebody that was involved in something like this, the body build is similar too. I agree with that, Sluther. It would be quite interesting of you to get yourself involved, insert yourself, and blame it on somebody else. That would be a good way to keep people from looking at you. So I'm just saying.
It's the family members. And they haven't, as far as I know, they haven't spoken to a lot of people except for, Savannah and a couple of, the brother and sister. But that's just my take.
As you being a Pima County resident of the Tucson area, do you have confidence in Sheriff Nanners?
I do not, especially after last night.
Especially after last night. So what, like last night, you saw him his images were at the basketball game.
He was at the U of A basketball game last night. And, like I said, there's a time and place. You want to go to a game 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago before this happened, or you want to go to a game that's, 3 weeks or 4 weeks from now. But don't go during like the prime time of a major national investigation.
On top of Savannah gave a plea back out to the kidnappers around the same time he's at a game.
Yes.
Like, what is going on with that? That's weird. What a lot of people say, But also, in fairness, some people say that might have been deliberate. He did that to lure the other people to act or do something, or the other person making the kidnappers or kidnapper feel like, oh, well, the sheriff's not on me. No
right.
big
but
deal.
If the sheriff's not on you, if the sheriff's not on you, you have a thing called the FBI that is. So yeah, you want to take time to get away. I understand that, but the game was at 2:00 in the afternoon. Okay, he had plenty of time before and plenty of time even after. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he's been out here except maybe 1 or 2 times. But, I think that it's smart and it's a good idea that technically the lead should be the FBI now, because this is a huge FBI issue. And I think that the sheriff's department needs to kind of, work with them, but kind of take a step back. And there's a lot of people that I have talked to and that I have seen stuff online. And, social media, people say things that shouldn't be said. People say things that should be said. But I think that there's a lot of backlash that he went to the basketball game last night. So I did at one point have faith in him but this is the second incident that has happened where on Monday he dropped the ball. They opened up the house. They opened up the property for everybody to come into, which They opened up the house.
Now, the tattoo on his arm does not look like it comes down far enough to the wrist to match whatever markings we saw on the other guy. So,
opened up the property for everybody to come into, which should never have happened.
Some people say that's crime scene contamination.
Exactly, Moonlit. A little too high up there, yeah.
Yeah,
contamination.
And it very well could be because you're allowing everybody to walk up to the very front of the door to see where that Ring doorbell was.
And the blood.
With blood sitting there. It should never have been opened back up for anybody. To this day, it should be just closed off. I'm not saying media shouldn't be here because I think it's the most important thing. They're doing their job. So
it doesn't look like he's wearing the ring today in this interview either that they were showing. So I don't know.
That's just my take.
I think this will be solved soon. Based off what you've been seeing, what you saw here today, with them at the manhole. Last night they're at the, son-in-law and Annie's home.
I think that it's going to get solved, but
fair use.
It's going to be one of those, everything is tight-lipped right now. There's a lot of things that the nation doesn't know. There's a lot of things that are kept quiet, which I do understand to a point. It's a waiting game. And if when the news does break, whoever it is, one person, 2 people, whatever it is, then, everybody will get their answer. But I think that it will get solved. It's just a matter of time and when.
Okay. So this stuff here does match up around the mouth. I don't know about the tattoo thing or how regularly he wears this ring, but who knows? I don't know. The build could be maybe close, but it is definitely that he definitely inserts himself, and I'm curious about that. So,
this is the 3rd time or 4th time that the sheriff's department has been out, and the investigators have been out to this scene. So, and from what I'm hearing, it's somewhat normal because they might have missed something or whatever it is. But I think it's very odd that it's taken 3 times or 4 times to come, and one tip lead. Obviously, I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before when they got us, is from what I've seen. You have thought. So,
hopefully she's found soon. Thank you, Jason.
Okay, so I don't know the facial appearance. There's some matches. I'll be true, or I'll be honest with you guys. Truly, it does look interesting, but um, there's got to be more than just that, obviously, for us to say, hey. But I don't like the fact that the guy inserted himself for sure. Anyway, moving on to some other stuff here. Let's see here. 1 minute. Sorry, you guys. So where'd this go? Oh yeah, we're gonna go over this image thing here real quick. This isn't very long. 1 minute.
Photo, the key break in Nancy Guthrie wasn't really explained to us in context the right way until now, thanks to Brian. Brian, what have you learned?
Yeah, this is interesting, Chris, and it didn't make a lot of sense because in the photos that were released of the suspect, you remember, and I think we have them, we can show you, the suspect was wearing a backpack in the photo on the right and no backpack in the photo on the left. Well, we now have learned through sources the reason is because the photos come from different days. The photo on the right with the backpack, I am told, is from right before Nancy Guthrie, they believe, was kidnapped, so early morning hours of February 1st. The photo on the left is from a previous day, from the same camera, but from a previous day, which means the kidnapper was at Nancy Guthrie's house, caught on camera days before the alleged kidnapping, Chris.
A day, 2 days? Do they know how many days? They should, right?
I'm trying to nail that down. I don't have reporting right now on what day it was. I will tell you something interesting is when the deputies and FBI have been going to all the neighbors' houses, they have been asking specifically if they had video from January 11th. I've heard that over and over again from the neighbors. They want video from January 11th. I don't know if that means that's the other day that they got this guy on camera, but it's a day that I know that they've been very, very interested in.
Absolutely targeted. I mean, I've always thought that, Sluther, but this makes like it's in stone as far as I'm concerned. Yes.
Do they know what time of day it was?
No, but it's dark. It's definitely. I mean, it's dark and we know the photo when he allegedly showed up for the kidnapping was the middle of the night. It looks like the photo on the left. It's also very dark out. So it was probably in the night. It's so dark in this neighborhood. Sometime overnight.
I got to tell you,
Good question,
it is very
Chris.
unusual for someone to case a house by going up to the front door. It is a very non-sophisticated way to do this. And usually when guys are casing a place, they are dressed in a very incognito way. They are not walking around with masks. It's very interesting. Even if it were in the middle of the night, I'm sure to officials, it's giving them a sense of what level of person they're dealing with here, which could make the situation even a little bit more harrowing, to be honest. But Brian, thank you very much. This is important. One more thing. Why are they just telling you this now?
Well, it's coming from sources that we have. So it's not an official release right now from the sheriff's office. We've had questions about, I've been curious, why the picture with the backpack and no backpack? It didn't make sense from the beginning, because I think you asked the same thing. Like, did he put the backpack down? So this really does clear up a lot of that. And if he showed up days before, was he going to kidnap her then and then decided not to? Or was he just casing the house and planned to come back on February 1st? All things we just don't know.
Just seems like something the authorities would have wanted people to know in order to architect the window that we're talking about and the timeline. But Brian, thank you as always for being right where you've been from the start, at the top. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching.
All right, guys, give me a minute. Okay, so this was dropped an hour ago. This is in regards to DNA and certain things within the DNA and being mixed and stuff like that too. So here we go.
Correspondent Brian Enton. To help us break down all of the new developments in the search for Nancy Guthrie, we are going to News Nation's senior national correspondent, Brian Enton, who is live on the ground in Tucson, Arizona tonight. Brian, tell us the very latest in this, and also what are we hearing about any potential DNA tech issues, mixed DNA?
Yeah, a couple of new developments coming in late tonight, Natasha. First of all, you mentioned the mixed DNA. The sheriff, the Pima County sheriff, did an interview with NBC News, and he's now saying that the samples are mixed, which this is something that we haven't heard before. I wrote down what he said. The samples are mixed, and DNA from more than one person is contained in some of these DNA samples that they are trying to test and get results from. Specifically, we know
This is so ridiculous. It's like a flashback to Idaho again with this DNA shit, guys. I'm telling you, they're going to go the IgG route with this, and it's probably going to end up with Othram if it's not there already, in my opinion.
that they're especially interested in the DNA from inside Nancy Guthrie's house, DNA that doesn't belong to Nancy Guthrie and then doesn't belong to anyone within her inner circle. But apparently that DNA, again, they're calling it as mixed, and that it's from more than one person, which is apparently making it a little more complicated. Remember, the sheriff sent the DNA to a Florida lab, a private lab that the sheriff's office here uses. There's a little bit of drama there with the FBI. FBI wanted a lot of the evidence to go to their lab in Quantico. At the end of the day, the sheriff decided to stick with the lab that they're used to, which is the lab in Florida. So hopefully they'll be able to sort that out, because DNA is obviously a huge, huge part of this case. Something else interesting that the sheriff said new tonight is he said they have no names. There's not a name of a suspect that they have behind the scenes. At least that's what he's saying publicly. Remember, we reported last week.
And I don't believe that at all. I think he's just telling that because he doesn't want media to know.
That the FBI was going around to different gun shops in Tucson with a list of 40 names and 40 photos showing employees of the gun shops, the names and the photos, seeing if they looked familiar, if they'd been in the store, if they'd bought a weapon. But again, tonight, the sheriff is saying that they have no names. Natasha?
Yeah, appreciate that. And meanwhile, what are they saying about cooperation with their counterparts south of
That's an interesting point, Richie. Very good point, sir.
the border, and the likelihood that she could have been taken to Mexico? Is that something that they're seriously looking at?
It seems like they are, because we know that the FBI was in touch with Mexican officials very, very early on. Our Libby Dean reported that tonight, that they called Mexico almost immediately to ask them questions about the investigation. Mexico, the law enforcement there, is now saying that they have no reason to believe that Nancy Guthrie is in Mexico. You just can't ignore how close it is, though. I mean, it takes anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half to get to Mexico from Nancy Guthrie's house, where I'm standing right now. It's so easy to cross the border. You don't even have to show an ID or answer any questions. You just go right in, whether you're walking, driving. So it seems like a possibility that investigators have to keep open.
And Brian, very quickly, is there a lot of cartel activity in this area?
There is, and there are kidnappings that have happened in this area involving the cartel, although all the local law enforcement that I've spoken to has said this just doesn't show any signs of being a cartel-related kidnapping. They're usually more organized. They're in and out quickly. Plus, what would the motive be for them to take an 84-year-old woman like Nancy Guthrie? So I don't think it's cartel-related, but whoever did it, you know, it's possible that they could have taken Nancy into Mexico, again, just because it's so close.
Yeah, it was so interesting to see how easy it was for you to clear that checkpoint. As senior national correspondent Brian Enton, live for us on the ground in Tucson, Arizona, yet again tonight. Thank you so much.
Hey there, we've got Don on the phone from your home state of Florida.
All right, Don from Florida. What's up? What's your question?
Hey, Brian. Thank you so much for your passion work. We really appreciate it. I am wondering, being that I have been a psychic follower all my life, why haven't they brought in like a valid person that lives right in Arizona?
Hang on a minute.
Like Alison Dubois or someone else?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. You know, it's funny, Don, that's a question that I've been getting a lot on X. A lot of people are asking about it. Maureen, it may sound kind of strange, but has the FBI ever used psychics before? Is that ever considered?
I'm sure someone has talked to psychics before, but
a good friend of mine that's a very well-respected profiler for the FBI. He's retired now, but he said that his experience has been nothing more than, because oftentimes the family will say, speak to this psychic. And the psychic always says things like, there's a body of water within 25 miles. You'll find them within 15 miles of the railroad tracks. There's a bridge in the town. I mean, he said that they just chew up way too much manpower. And the bottom line is very few, if ever, have been fruitful. So I mean, as a law enforcement officer, we feel a lot more comfortable sticking with the tradition.
My understanding, Mark, is that they're pulling it from like a cloud that Google had, where they had saved stuff in the background. So it's interesting in two ways, in my opinion. So that's how they're doing it.
Means and methods that we know to be tried and true.
Yeah, and you mentioned with the profilers, even though, I mean, they're not psychics, but they, in their own way, come up with theories and things for law enforcement to investigate, which is, it's an amazing science. All right, we're going to stick with me, you guys. We got more callers. The lines are blowing up.
They base that on science. They base that on science and the history of all these hundreds of thousands of cases. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. But I'm telling you, everybody's been asking me about the psychics. I'm not joking. Dawn wasn't the only one. It's like the main question I get in Twitter. All right, coming up next, putting the pieces together.
You say that they should deploy a queen for a day tactic. Tell me what you mean by that.
If you're a Confederate or if you're somebody who knows and are afraid of those who are involved, get yourself lawyered up. Have the lawyer get a queen for a day where you do a proffer, or you can tell the information. It can't be used to prosecute you, and you could help and do a good thing and help try to solve this thing. If you believe that you've got the information, do it.
The only case that I've ever heard of where I believe it, and I'm probably wrong about this, so somebody correct me if you know better, but was it Donna Serafina helped in was it the Lori Vallow situation or the Vallow Daybell situation? Somehow, that's the only thing I've ever heard of that I know of, you guys, in true crime. And I'm probably wrong. So again, if you know this, please correct me. Richie Rich says the gun shop owner said out of the 40 pictures, 80% of them were Mexican guys with goatees, which is going to make that like a needle in a haystack. I absolutely already thought that. So yes, agreed.
Don't be so worried. There are ways you could do this. Be protected and keep yourself from being in legal harm.
Yeah. So you're saying that in most cases like this, there is a circle and a number of people who know who is behind this and what happened here. Make it easy for them to come forward, to be protected legally so that they can share what they know. It makes sense. Mark Garagos, always appreciate your time and your insight. Thank you so much.
Good to see you, Natasha. Thank you.
Okay, let me go back to Paige now. I want to get another caller in before we have to take a break. Paige?
Hey, yeah, I think we have time to get to this one. This is Mike from Philly.
All right, Mike in Philly, what's your question?
Hey, Brian, how are you? Great job you're doing on the ground. But I just have a basic question that is there two separate investigations? And with the kidnapping, and what is the reasoning that the Adult Protective Services investigation was opened 1 week before she was kidnapped? Thus, card that was left. I'm with the internet sleuth group and crime hoppers, and we have figured this out. And JLR is we've talked to him, and we are the problem of the sheriff because we want the answers.
Yeah, when you bring up the Adult Protective Services, there was some questions about there was a card left in Nancy's door that was from an Adult Protective Services supervisor, an investigator, and a lot of people spotted that card. Actually,
I really would truly, honestly like to know what the hell the APS thing is all about, where that leads to be honest with you.
One of our producers saw the investigator put the card in the door, and it was after we got here, after Nancy was missing. It was like Monday or Tuesday of that first week. So people thought the card was there from before, but it actually wasn't, because one of our producers saw him put the card in the door. It's actually a woman in the door after she was already reported missing.
Hey, let's go to Jay. We got him on the phone from New Jersey.
All right, Jay from New Jersey, what's your question?
Hey, Brian, how you doing? Great job on the ground there. I watch the show every night with Cuomo and everything. And my question is, myself and my wife are like dumbfounded by this, is how did this low-life scale get into the house? Was there like any signs of a break-in? Did he use like picks? How did he get into the house? That's nuts. I don't know if you can answer it.
Yeah, it's a good question. There were reports of forced entry in the beginning, and then the sheriff walked that back. Eric, what do you think? I mean, we've seen the suspect at the front door. We have the video up right now, but we don't know that he went in through the front door. What are your thoughts?
No, in the limited information we have, we know that he approached the front door. The simplest method that they use is simply to knock and wait for an answer, or wait for somebody to voluntarily open the door, and then proceed to abduct or kidnap, or whatever the case. There would be if there were indications of forced entry, they would probably be use of some sort of ramming device or some sort of device to compromise the lock. But the easiest form in which these subjects operate is just to knock on the door and to wait till they voluntarily open.
Yeah, it's so scary to think about that in the middle of the night if Nancy woke up and saw this guy outside her front door. Bob, have you thought at all about if you think there's a second suspect or a getaway driver, or could there have been someone around the backside of the house at the same time?
That's what I think.
I have thought about that. I've discussed it a little bit, and my gut says there probably was. A car of some sort was involved with the kind of the lack of care that the suspect we see walking up to the front door has. Once they were able to get their hands on Nancy and get her out, it would be a lot.
It's a gun. It's definitely a gun.
A lot easier to have someone waiting for you. So, the cop part of me says, yeah, there probably was a car out front just waiting. You've been in the neighborhood with the lights out, a dark night. No one's going to see that. It's not going to look out of the ordinary at 1 a.m. in the morning. So there probably was, and hopefully that they're following up on all the vehicle leads in the area as well.
Yeah, I wondered the same thing, if maybe the getaway driver was parked a block or two away and then got the call to come back.
And Rob Chadwick, a former FBI supervisory special agent and principal training advisor with the USCCA. Rob, welcome back. Good morning.
What's up, CEO? Good to see you, brother. Thank you for joining us today.
Always good to see you.
Good morning, Hannah.
You heard the latest report. What's your reaction to the police now suggesting that there might have been multiple accomplices?
Well, it's not a surprising, announcement. I mean, certainly we know that she was taken from that home. We know that she was injured when she left that home. And so, it wouldn't surprise me at all if there was someone else involved in this. What's clear, and what has been clear to many of us from the beginning, was this was never, I don't believe, ever a true kidnapping for ransom case. And it also almost certainly wasn't a, nighttime burglary gone wrong. Like, that just doesn't happen statistically,
There's definitely multiple people involved in this. There's no way one person carried this woman out of the house. She couldn't walk very well. There's no way that this person put her in a wheelchair and wheeled her down the road so there's a car. These things are just common sense to me. So they should be looking into all those things if they haven't done it yet, which I'm sure they have. I'm just saying.
Residential burglaries happen during the day when residents are typically at work. Business burglaries happen at night. So this person who showed up at that house, I believe, was there, to do something. We don't know what. They were inside that house for far too long for it to have been a planned kidnapping. And then, of course, we've had absolutely no sign of life, no proof of life, I should say. And the ransom demands that have been submitted through the media sources, I've always believed are at best a red herring and more likely just outsiders inserting themselves, opportunists, so to speak, trying to collect on this, high profile story.
Rob, from the very beginning, you've said this case is atypical. It's unusual. Why do you say that from your perspective?
Well, a true kidnapping for ransom case, is something where you're going to almost almost immediately have a call to either the family or the local authorities to say, listen, we have this person. Here is proof. Here is definitive proof that we have that person, and we are willing to negotiate. We didn't get that until a couple of days later. And that supposed submission was done through a tabloid media outlet, I believe, to get more attention. That's not the mark of someone who is truly interested in collecting a ransom for a true kidnapping. A lot of this just has not made any sense from a kidnapping investigation. And so, like I saw that you have a Saturday night special tonight to go over 3 weeks of leads, of interviews, and I think that's exactly what law enforcement is going to do is go back to the beginning, take a look at all the things that we know, not speculation.
I agree, Tomboy.
But the things that we know with maybe a fresh set of eyes to say, okay, what is it that we can track down? I still believe that the clothing items that we see there are, those are tremendous leads. That holster, the combination of that holster with that pistol. That's why we had that story earlier in the week where, agents were going out and questioning people at gun stores to see. That's a very unusual combination and I believe a tremendous lead.
Rob, it's been, and you and I are talking about this, it's been 21 days. Hundreds of officers and agents are working around the clock. 40,000 tips have come in. When does the police and the FBI start to divert resources away from this case?
Well, this case is obviously atypical, and it has captured the attention not only of the United States, but the world. And so law enforcement is desperate to reassure the public. Hey, listen, we're going to get to the bottom of this. We want to make sure that people that are watching this, that could see themselves in this situation, are reassured. Hey, we're going to solve this case. So the pressure's there. They're not going to divert a ton of resources, but certainly they're going to shift the investigation. I doubt that there are, SWAT teams standing by at the ready like there were just a few weeks ago. There certainly is a local SWAT team there and potentially a regional SWAT team, but we had multiple SWAT teams staged throughout the area in case there was a discovery of a stash house, so to speak. I doubt that very seriously is the case anymore. Certainly they are ready to go at a moment's notice locally. But yeah, this is going to be one of those cases, and I know it's frustrating for the general public, but these things do take time. It's a very unusual, atypical case, but they're certainly not going to give up.
Rob Chadwick, thank you so much. You're a wealth of knowledge when it comes to this case. I've been watching your reporting on it all week. Thank you again for coming on.
All right, moving on. Hang on one sec. All right, I have another new clip that popped up from TMC. As much as I hate using them, they've been very active in this, so I'm just going to throw this update to you guys real quick.
Week 4 in the Nancy Guthrie kidnapping, and sorry to say, I have spoken with law enforcement officials today. If we get toward the end of the week and they still haven't crack this case, it's going cold.
Be right back.
They are still pursuing leads. I am told that there are some leads that they're somewhat hopeful on. They are still pursuing this ransom note that we got, but they do not have any solid leads. And there are reasons why they're saying that, if you get a month into something like this, it goes cold. And it goes cold for a couple of reasons. One, just in terms of resources, because law enforcement does not have the resources to throw this kind of manpower at every case. And number two, it's just not in the news the way it has been in the past. And, once it is out of sight, it's out of mind. Now, that doesn't mean there's not going to be another development, because there could be. And again, they are still working on this case, but I'm not saying that at the end of the week, people are throwing their hands up, because there will still be investigation, but it is getting somewhat cold.
Nick from Tennessee. Yeah, I agree with you, Harvey. I'm wondering if there's any more video out there why the FBI or the Pima County Sheriff's Office isn't releasing it, because I feel like the news cycle is kind of moving away from this whole thing. And I'm with you. I'm worried it's going to go cold if we don't get more information released to the public, if it can help, of course.
Yeah, I'm told this is a critical week. Okay, what else you guys want to talk about?
Hi, I'm Lauren. I live in Philadelphia. We're going to talk about Nick Reiner.
So there's that little update. And yes, Nick Reiner pled not guilty in the murder trial of his parents, just so everybody knows if you're interested. Moving on. This stuff, I'm going to grab this other stuff. They're talking about stalker situations here too, guys, via CNN. Again, I'm trying to present all angles that we can to look at this from different corners and see if anything makes sense.
Actually, like anything you have that could be suspicious for the whole month, but choosing that other date is potentially suggestive that that is as early as this person may have first shown up on the radar.
And that date goes back to January 11th, and they did bring that out earlier on in the investigation about the 11th, where they were telling people in the neighborhood to look at their cameras and if they have them back to that date. So even as early as January 1st. So it's just an interesting theory and thought as to what could have happened maybe before. Just saying.
Of that Ring doorbell camera, the one we see later in the video where he is approaching it, he goes to get shrubs, he covers it up and ultimately removes it and apparently takes it with him. So what does it tell us? What does it mean? What it means is that there was obviously some kind of casing, probably from afar, from a vehicle driving by, maybe sitting out there pretending to be workmen, something that might blend in, but they had to take that casing further up close. And this could be an example of approaching the house, looking to see what are the cameras, where are the cameras. Remember, there was another incident that was actually mentioned in the first alleged ransom note where they said there is a floodlight that was destroyed. This was a motion-sensitive floodlight that would come on for movement. If you were going to do an abduction, it's the kind of thing you would want to eliminate. Is that what happened on one of these earlier trips or this trip?
So, Richard, what can you do in an investigation when you have two sets of images from two separate nights? How does that help in an investigation?
Well, investigatively, I think it's tremendous news. This basically doubles what they want to look for. We've talked about that timeline that John just mentioned, having to go backwards. But now that there's potentially 2 nights where this person approached that house, they were looking for videos. They were looking for witness interviews. We know the cell phone analysis team was out there, as well as other.
I fully agree with you on that, Robert. They should have allowed that. And again, I feel like if they would have, we would not be sitting here having this conversation now.
Technical capabilities. This literally doubles the playing field that they can go look for. And I think there's a good chance that this could lead to some more substantive leads as this investigation continues.
And it does give you a sense that the authorities, there has been this whole layer of information collecting that they've been doing that we haven't necessarily known about in the public. Richard Kolko, John Miller, thanks to you both again. This news just in and will develop, I imagine, throughout the course of tonight and tomorrow.
Breaking news, CNN learning the masked suspect in the Nancy Guthrie doorbell video had gone to her home before. In fact, days before she was abducted. Ed Lavandera joins me on the phone. And Ed, what are you learning about this?
Well, this is significant because if you remember back on February 10th, when the FBI released those haunting and dramatic images of the suspect wearing a backpack, a mask, a gun in a holster around his waist, that was in that batch of photos that was released. There was one photo in particular that showed the suspect standing there without a backpack and without the gun in the holster on his body. So there have been a lot of questions about where that photo was coming from. Was it part of the same timeline? But now we have learned through a source that that photo actually came from a day previous to the early morning hours of February 1st, which means this person was at Nancy Guthrie's doorstep on a different day. It's not clear exactly which day that was. We do not know that yet. But we do know that in the last few weeks, there has been a call for video dating from January 1st all the way to February 2nd. There's also been another call of video for some specific days, one dating back to January 11th between 8 p.m. and midnight. So there have been some specific requests for videos for way before just that February 1st morning.
All right, Ed, thank you very much. Obviously, hugely significant. I think we've all made the assumption those pictures were the same time. So the fact that that was taken before, sinister and jarring, but huge development.
Well, we have breaking news into the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. A source tells CNN that this image of the masked person seen on the doorbell camera footage of her home was taken at her doorstep on another night than her disappearance, a different night than her disappearance. In other words, he approached her home before the night that she was apparently abducted. We also have that separate footage that we have seen from the night that she was abducted. So now there is footage from 2 separate nights, is my understanding. Let's get right to CNN's Ed Lavandera from outside her home in Tucson with the latest on this. Explain what we've seen now, Ed.
Well, this is significant, John, because if you remember back on February 10th,
Well, I don't know, Terry, because she's been missing for 24 days. So I don't know that she could have done that 12 days ago.
FBI Director Kash Patel released those stunning, haunting images of this suspect approaching Nancy Guthrie's home in the middle of the night. And at the time, the FBI director said that these images and photos were captured the morning of her abduction. So, but this one photo stood out as we were all looking at it and have looked at it over the past week, because in all of the images and all of the videos, you see the suspect with the mask, the backpack, a holster around his waist that has a gun, and obviously the gloves. But if you look at this one particular image, which was in this batch of photos that was released by the FBI, there is that one photo where he's not wearing the backpack and he does not have the holster with the gun in it. So the question was, is that the same time? Was it a different time that same night, or did it come from a different day altogether? Now we've learned from this source that this was from a different day altogether. And the significance of this is that we have been reporting over the last few weeks is that investigators have been asking and canvassing the neighborhood around here, asking for video from January 1st all the way to February 2nd. And also on some very specific days, one in particular, we know that there was an alert that went out to neighbors asking for video between 8 p.m. and midnight on January 11th, nearly 3 weeks before Nancy Guthrie was abducted. So this might help explain why investigators have been so focused on the weeks before her abduction. And this also kind of gets to the question about whether or not this was just a random act. Was this something that was more targeted? Was there the suspect canvassed the area and get a lay of the land here in this neighborhood? A little bit clearer picture on how all of this unfolded now.
All right, Ed Lavandera, a very interesting bit of new reporting on this, which explains a lot and does raise some new questions. Thank you very much. With us now, retired FBI Special Agent and hostage negotiator Richard Kolko, and CNN Chief Law Enforcement and Intelligence Analyst John Miller. So, John, what is it that you think that we should make of this? It's not clear to me whether authorities have known for a week that they had images from two separate nights, or we're just learning it now for the first time.
So we're just learning this now for the first time. This is a story that was first reported by ABC News and their Aaron Katursky.
And once we get through this, guys, I'm going to show you guys some other quote-unquote celebrity kidnappings that involved ransom and the way that this goes down, and see what you think is different with this than those, guys. I think it's good to refer to stuff like this to be able to understand how these things typically work.
It's a story that was confirmed by our own Randy Kay through a law enforcement source who's briefed on the investigation. But I think authorities didn't want to go into that level of detail when they initially released the pictures. We were always perplexed by where is the backpack, as Ed pointed out a second ago in this first picture. Does he go back to a vehicle and get the backpack? Well, now we know this is from a separate date. As Ed pointed out, it's pretty significant that on February 12th, they put a message out to the public through us and their social media saying, we are looking for those people who might have footage from January 31st, the night going into the next day when they think the abduction occurred, but also that January 11th date. Now, that was very specific. After that, they came out and said, we'd actually like anything you have that could be suspicious for the whole month. But choosing that other date is potentially suggestive that that is.
Because I think they know that that other video came from January 11th, which is exactly why it showed up on the cloud that they pulled. And that's where the date shows for that other video, this one here. That's why they're asking for that date, in my opinion.
As early as this person may have first shown up on the radar of that Ring doorbell camera, the one we see later in the video where he is approaching it. He goes to get shrubs, he covers it up, and ultimately removes it and apparently takes it with him. So what is it?
And that would also explain how that he knew, that person knew there was a camera there. If he was there days or weeks beforehand, when he walks up on the porch with his head down, that means he's hiding his face because he knows there's a camera there. Meaning he was probably there on the 11th per se, or whatever day it ended up being, that casing the house, casing the camera, seeing what was there, how to do this, what they needed to have tool-wise to do this, per se, in my opinion. Welcome, Deidre. Deidre says, I don't think they want to find Nancy. What family doesn't use media to find missing loved ones? Why no prayer vigil? Why so little information? Those are all interesting questions. And it makes you wonder if that's because they did not allow the family, or they told the family not to do those things for the sheriff, because he makes such dumb decisions, in my opinion.
Tell us, what does it mean? What it means is that there was obviously some kind of casing, probably from afar, from a vehicle driving by, maybe sitting out there pretending to be workmen, something that might blend in, but they had to take that casing further up close. And this could be an example of approaching the house, looking to see what are the cameras, where are the cameras. Remember, there was another incident that was actually mentioned in the first alleged ransom note where they said there is a floodlight that was destroyed. This was a motion-sensitive floodlight that would come on for movement. If you were going to do an abduction, it's the kind of thing you would want to eliminate. Is that what happened on one of these earlier trips or this trip?
So, Richard, what can you do in an investigation when you have two sets of images from two separate nights? How does that help in an investigation?
Well, investigatively, I think it's tremendous news. This basically doubles what they want to look for. We've talked about that timeline that John just mentioned, having to go backwards. But now that there's potentially two
Looks like Luther strikes again, dropping 10 new memberships. And it's showing, it looks like Cheryl Brissett, Batshit Crazy, Heather Guerin, Serrano, Ms. Petty Crocker, love the name, Chain Smoking Bob, Misty Dawn, Mar 310, Porch Light Confessions, Bridget 2680, all received new memberships to the sauce. 10 new members, and that is so very awesome. Thank you so very much for that, Luther. God bless. All right, let me get some more of this in, and then we're going to jump to that next segment.
2 nights where this person approached that house. They were looking for videos. They were looking for witness interviews. We know the cell phone analysis team was out there, as well as other technical capabilities. This literally doubles the playing field that they can go look for. And I think there's a good chance that this could lead to some more substantive leads as this investigation continues.
And it does give you a sense that the authorities, there has been this whole layer of information collecting that they've been doing that we haven't necessarily known about in the public. Richard Kolko, John Miller, thanks to you both again. This news just in and will develop, I imagine, throughout the course of tonight and tomorrow.
Breaking news, CNN learning the masked suspect in the Nancy Guthrie doorbell video had gone to her home before. In fact, days before she was abducted. Ed Lavendera joins me on the phone. And Ed, what are you learning about this?
Well, this is significant because if you remember back on February 10th when the FBI released those haunting and dramatic images of the suspect wearing a backpack, a mask, a gun in a holster around his waist, that was in that batch of photos that was released, there was one photo in particular that showed the suspect standing there without a backpack and without the gun in the holster on his body. So there have been a lot of questions about where that photo was coming from. Was it part of the same timeline? But now we have learned through a source that that photo actually came from a day previous to the early morning hours of February 1st, which means this person was at Nancy Guthrie's doorstep on a different day. It's not clear exactly which day that was. We do not.
I don't think they did go in through that front door. I think they went in through the back entrance. I think it's possible because she had a slider door that it may have been left open and they just went in through that door. That's just my opinion.
Know that yet, but we do know that in the last few weeks, there has been a call for video dating from January 1st all the way to February 2nd. There's also been another call of video for some specific days, one dating back to January 11th between 8 p.m. and midnight. So there have been some specific requests for videos for way before.
In the same outfit odds, this jacket looks a little different than the other jacket, you guys, or maybe it's just the camera, but I mean, I would wear if this is the kind of, if these are the clothing, this is the clothing you have to wear I mean, he may have wanted to do it that night. That could have been the night he was going to do it and then realized he needed some other tools and changed his mind and checked it out, scoped it and said, I will be back. And then got the tools together he needed and then came back. So that could be the situation.
For just that February 1st morning.
All right, Ed, thank you very much. Obviously, hugely significant. I think we've all made the assumption those pictures were the same time. So the fact that that was taken before, sinister and jarring, but huge development.
All right, let's jump to this other situation here. Hold on. Just wanted to show you guys something about this type of thing. And these are kidnappings, and they're all bizarre, just like this, for ransom. So I thought this would be interesting to go over with you guys, just so you could see the differences in the situations and point out what is wrong with this as compared to. But again, they're all bizarre, just like this one is.
Sometimes it works out and everyone gets safely away, and sometimes the results are far more tragic. But every once in a while, the whole thing is just weird. Check out these 10 bizarre cases of kidnapping for ransom. Number 10. J. Paul Getty wouldn't pay his grandson's ransom. If you spend much time on the internet, you've no doubt come across Getty Images, which is arguably the biggest repository of stock photos on the internet. Along with that, the Getty family is behind the J. Paul Getty Museum.
Mind you, all of these are a form of celebrity at some point. So.
And Getty Oil. The head of the family, J. Paul Getty, was one of the richest men in the world, and people knew it. In 1973, Getty's
Welcome,
teenage
Kiki.
grandson, John Paul Getty III, was kidnapped in Rome. The younger Getty was held for 5 months while they tried to get $17 million in ransom from the family. What they mustn't have been aware of at the time they kidnapped the young man was that the elder Getty was notoriously stingy and paid for as little as possible. He didn't get rich by spending money, it seemed. So, when the ransom demand came in, he simply refused to pay. Word is Getty thought the kidnapping was a hoax at first, so not paying made sense. But as it became clear that it was the real deal, he didn't change his tune. Getty was quoted as saying, "I have 14 other grandchildren, and if I pay 1 penny now, then I will have 14 kidnapped grandchildren." Harsh, but also probably not wrong either. As time passed, the negotiations went nowhere, and the kidnappers grew frustrated. They eventually cut off the teen's ear and mailed it to a local newspaper to prove how serious they were. The ransom was bartered down to $3 million, and Getty still wouldn't pay. Instead, he was willing to pony up $2 million as it was the maximum that he could use as a tax write-off. For the remaining million, the elder Getty was willing to loan it to his son, the boy's father, at 4% interest. The money was paid, and the boy was released. Number 9. Bobby Brown was kidnapped by a gang over a drug debt. Celebrities seem to live entirely in the public eye, so it's rather surprising to learn something secret about them many years after the fact. That's the case with the story of how Bobby Brown, singer and husband of Whitney Houston, was once kidnapped, had a ransom paid, and was released, all before anyone knew anything about it. Brown was kidnapped back in 1993. He had had a music career for some years at that point, but had only been married to Houston, who would go on to become a huge star for a short time. In 1993, she had just released the movie The Bodyguard and was arguably one of the biggest celebrities in America. Brown, who had a history of drug problems, apparently owed $25,000 to dealers. He was kidnapped by a gang known as the Preacher Crew over the debt, and they decided to make it worth their while by demanding $400,000. Houston followed the demands of the kidnappers and didn't inform law enforcement. Instead, she got the money together and delivered it to the kidnappers herself, who held up their end and gave her husband back. Number 8. 2 men tried to ransom Charlie Chaplin's corpse for $600,000. Kidnapping is different from stealing only in the sense that the target of one is a living being and the target of the other is not. You could hold the Mona Lisa for ransom, but people wouldn't say you kidnapped the painting so much as you stole it. And somewhere in the middle of the two is what happened when criminals tried to get $600,000 ransom for Charlie Chaplin. 3 months after Chaplin died back in 1977, someone dug up the man's grave and made off with his remains. That's bizarre and weird all on its own, but then to put the cherry on the weird sundae,
I do believe they should sausage, truly, because that's the whole point in them.
the grave robbers called Chaplin's widow, seeking to ransom the corpse. In most kidnappings, the leverage is that you have a living person and the ransom payers want that back. You threaten their lives in order to convince people to pay the money. So right away, the kidnapping was missing a key point. No doubt Chaplin's widow would have wanted his remains, but $600,000 is a lot of money.
I know, Ro, that's
The
crazy.
kidnappers made were against Chaplin's children, who were still alive, but also decidedly not kidnapped, making them somewhat toothless. Una Chaplin, Charlie's
Good
widow,
point,
apparently
nothing.
thought the whole thing was stupid. She had no interest in paying, and the local police were actually on the ball. They tapped her phone and had a man monitoring every one of the 200 local phone booths when the kidnappers called. 2 men were arrested, and Chaplin's remains were found. Number 7, the manager of the Animals was kidnapped by the Yakuza. Back in the 1960s, the Animals enjoyed some serious fame with songs like House of the Rising Sun. Sure, they didn't get as big as the Beatles, but, well, who did? The band also had some incredible ups and downs in their career, though arguably little that was as notable as the time their
Welcome, Moonvale. Good to see you, dear.
manager was kidnapped by members of the Japanese Yakuza and then freed himself before the band fled the country. Turns out that when the band booked a tour in Japan back in the 1960s, an event that would ultimately lead to the band falling apart, what no one realized at the time was that they had been booked by promoters who worked in organized crime. The manager wrote an IOU to the criminals for $25,000 and a note that it was written under duress, hoping that they couldn't read English to know what he'd done. He released them, and the manager got the band and fled the country so quickly that they left their instruments behind. Number 6, 3 men kidnapped an entire busload of children to try to get $5 million. The town of Chowchilla, California, has a population of just under 20,000 people today, which was decidedly less back in 1976 when 3 men kidnapped 26 children and a bus driver on a school bus and held them for $5 million ransom. The plan was to use the money to pay off debts and then live large for a spell, and maybe that would have happened had the kid.
I remember this. They buried a storage or a tractor trailer under the ground, and they held him in there throughout the day, so on and so forth. It was wild. Story was crazy.
kidnappers not completely botched the job. After taking the bus, the three men transferred the kids to vans and drove them 100 miles away before stashing them in a moving van trailer that they'd buried in a quarry. The men were unable to call in ransom demands because phone lines were tied up as a result of the kidnapping. So for reasons that may never fully make sense, they figured they'd take a nap and try later. The problem with that was that they'd slept so long that when they woke up, they learned from the news that the kids had all escaped from the trailer. All three men were eventually captured and given life sentences. Number 5, a Norwegian hijacked a plane and demanded beer. Airport security has been tight around the world for years, and the idea of a plane being hijacked is an absolute nightmare scenario. The fear on the ground is palpable, and we can only imagine how terrifying it would be for those trapped on a plane knowing what could happen to them. In 1985, a Norwegian man hijacked a plane with over 100 passengers on board, intent on being taken to speak with the Prime Minister. Right away, that sounds like a complete madman and a situation destined to end badly. Holding the lives of so many people in the balance is a risky proposition for any negotiators on the grounds, and trying to work with the hijacker towards a safe resolution is definitely not something for the faint of heart. The hijacker was a 24-year-old man who managed to get a gun on board, potentially due to a lack of security back in the 1980s. Fortunately for the passengers on board, it was only a 4-hour process they had to endure, as negotiators were able to get the man to turn over control of the plane and let everyone go in exchange for meeting his demands for beer. They gave him beer during the course of the entire hijacking, and eventually he gave up. And after all the passengers were let go, the police refused to give him more beer until he traded his gun for it. Number 4, a kidnapper asked for financial advice from his victim. Some people all want to be rich and famous just for the sake of being rich and famous, and there's not much else to it. That may be the case with the man who kidnapped Lee Kai-shing's son and held him for $1 billion Hong Kong hostage. Ka-shing is one of Asia's richest men and has a fortune of around $35 billion. His eldest son was kidnapped in 1996. His kidnapper demanded $2 billion Hong Kong and showed up with a bomb to collect it. Ka-shing only had $1 billion in cash, which is about $127 million, and he handed it over. Once the deal was made and the sum was released, the kidnapper actually called Ka-shing to ask him for financial advice regarding how to invest his newfound fortune. The billionaire apparently told him to try turning over a new leaf. Number 3, an Italian went to Syria to fake his own kidnapping and then got kidnapped. A fake kidnapping is a solid plot for a tense action thriller, but maybe not for real life. That was learned the hard way by some Italian businessmen who thought they could scam their government out of some quick cash by claiming that they'd been kidnapped by jihadists in Syria in 2016. The plan might have worked, maybe, if they hadn't actually gone to Syria and actually been kidnapped and held for 3 years as a result. The men convinced Alessandro Sandrini that he had to travel to the border of Syria and Turkey so they could fake a kidnapping. Then they'd set him up in a luxury villa with women and drugs until the Italian government paid his ransom. Fun times. Except that when they got Sandrini to his destination, they sold him to an actual group of jihadists who held him hostage. The second Italian also fell for the same deal, and both were freed in 2019. The 3 men who arranged the kidnapping were charged, but so was Sandrini. Number 2, students kidnapped the head of Jeremy Bentham. Generally speaking, there's no such thing as a good kidnapping, but if there was, this would probably be it. The remains of the philosopher Jeremy Bentham can be found at University College London, according to the man's final wishes, where he's on display in a glass box. It's actually just Bentham's body on display with a fake head, because his real head, which is also there, looks decidedly worse. Also, it was once stolen by students from King's College, a rival school. So, like how in college movies when one team steals the other's mascot, only this time it was a preserved head. The students demanded £100 ransom for the head, which was to be donated to charity. The university cheaped out and gave them £10, which was accepted, and the head was returned. Number 1, the CEO of Aldi claimed his own ransom money as a tax deduction. If you're not familiar with Aldi, the company runs a multinational chain of grocery stores in Europe, Asia, Australia, and the United States, including Trader Joe's, and has sales of about $134 billion in 2021, so they're doing all right. In 1971, one of the founders, Theo Albrecht, who was also one of the richest men in Europe, was kidnapped. The kidnappers, a lawyer who had heavy debts and one accomplice, held Albrecht in a Dusseldorf office. They demanded ransom directly from Albrecht, who apparently began to haggle with the men. It took 17 days for a deal to be reached. They would release Albrecht for 7 million Deutschmarks, or about 3.5 million USD. The money was delivered and Albrecht was released, while the kidnappers were eventually caught and jailed. As for Albrecht, he claimed the ransom money he spent on himself as a business deduction for tax purposes, and apparently was allowed to do so. Curiously, about half the ransom money was never found.
Wild stuff, you guys. Wild stuff. Anyway, sorry. 1 minute here. I think that's pretty much going to be it for updates with this. There's nothing really new coming out. Unfortunately, it's sad, other than Savannah's message. Okay, we do have this. I love this. 1 minute here. This is very interesting here. Maureen McConnell. It's probably got to be my favorite ever expert they talked to. And her and Megan here talking about this situation.
That there were tons of reports last night. What about the fact that there were tons of reports last night that SWAT...
They have served 6, I think Kim talked about this on her show earlier, 6 warrants, folks. 6 at Annie Guthrie's house. Why? If they're cleared, why do they keep going back to Annie Guthrie's house? And I think this is what they're talking about here. And it's something you're talking about. DB Cooper. Yes, I followed that case. They're talking, something's not right with that part of this. It's so weird.
SWAT was there, hostage rescue was there, and that officials, I don't know if it was FBI or local sheriffs, but cops were all over yet again Annie Guthrie's property, in the back and all over with her neighbors, going door to door. Annie Guthrie, not Nancy Guthrie's, Annie Guthrie's, where she had her dinner that night, but from whose house we are told by Annie and Tomas she was returned, that she did not stay overnight there, that they brought her back home, that Tomas, according to the sheriff, brought her back home at 9:48, where the garage door went up, 9:50 it went down. So you tell me why law enforcement was flooding the field around Annie Guthrie's home last night.
I've said it before. I've done a lot of rollback warrants on locations. I have never, ever even heard of anyone going back 4 or 5 times. I believe this is the 5th time last night. It's got to do with new information coming in. And the good sign, the good part of this,
I do believe it was number 6, folks,
of them going back there, is they obviously are receiving more information that they feel is actionable. And you have to, we have to look into it. It keeps pointing back in the same direction. Now, the fact that we detained the wrong person last night, and the fact that they let him go quickly, is a good.
Okay, so this is, I guess this is, it was dated from yesterday, but I'm sorry. Anyway, on we go.
Sign. They had a number of data points. He didn't fit in. He is a driver. We have spoken from the very beginning that it was someone that was associated with the house or crossed paths with Nancy in some way, shape, or form. And this person on his phone delivered a package, probably short period of time before this event occurred. And so he's in the crosshairs. However, I think the other offenders did not bring their phones, or we would know who they are by now. They didn't have their phones in their cars. So we don't know who was exactly in the area roaming around, because sometimes a person may not have the phone in their pocket or on their person, but they may have it in their car. No, their phones were left at home, whoever did this, or they were secreted in another more interesting way, similar to the Brown shooter. I think with the Brown shooter and also with Koberger, people learned a lot because of all the coverage and because of all the intense scrutiny of how are things done. How can you avoid this? He was stupid because he did this. These people pay attention to this and they watch this and they feel they've learned from it, and they all think they're smarter than everyone else, and they're not. But the fact that they keep going back to this same location every single time, these are oftentimes a conspiracy, kidnappings of 3 people, 2-3 people as a general rule.
What about the fact that there were tons of reports last night that SWAT...
They keep going back to these same places, guys. They've been back to Annie's house 6+ times now. That I don't understand. I truly and honestly do not understand. I don't get it. If they're cleared, what is there that they have to keep going back and looking for? Do you know what I mean? I'm going to double check these updates here for you guys, but besides that, we're pretty close to being done with this, guys. Like I said, there's not a lot, but give me 1 second here. Well, I appreciate you, FB, very much. So this is a new sign that was placed outside Nancy's home, in her front yard, I do believe. To Nancy's kidnapper, unintentional things happen. We get that. Life is made of choices. Please make the right one now. Give the Guthries hope with proof of life, or tell them where Nancy is so they can get her and end this nightmare on both sides. The Guthries in the whole country are counting on you. Prove to us that you're human. Do the right thing. That's wild. Definitely weird, but wild. Let me see. What else did I have here? There's another woman out there stating she's not the Nancy Guthrie, that I guess people have been approaching her and she's not the right one. 1 minute, sorry. Also, let me see. Nothing new. I guess there's a new 17 minutes ago. They posted there's a new revelation on the man in the Nancy Guthrie video as Savannah drops the $1 million reward that we saw. And that's probably going to come out here relatively soon. They're looking into something new with this person. So I'm curious to know what it is, guys. I hope they find this woman alive and well and they can bring her home. I truly, honestly do. So that being said, you guys, whoa, okay. That being said, I think that's going to cover it for today on the Nancy Guthrie stuff. I appreciate you guys joining me. And I will be live tonight with Devil's Advocates for Crimes After Dark, along with Lee, Robin11, JJ, and Logan from Bronx Tales True Crime. And I'm looking forward to that as well. I hope you guys have an amazing day. Thank you all for joining me. Do not forget to love yourselves, love each other, and don't change nothing, folks. You guys are the beautiful people, and I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye, everybody.
The coffee's cold, the final stain. We laid the map out in the pouring rain. No hidden corners left to creep. The dark truth woke while the city was asleep. The evidence lines up straight and true. A perfect picture of what they chose to do. The quiet street erupts in flashing light. A reckoning delivered in the night. SWAT serves the warrant, loud and clear. The sound of justice, the only thing we hear. TruCrime Cafe, we watch the suspect finally pay. The dark truth is backed and signed and sealed. The wound is closed, the name is finally healed. It's finally healed. Cafe's empty, closed for the night. We put the darkness back into the light. We'll wipe the counter, set the empty chair, and wait right here for the next secret laid bare. Until the next one.